Hello viewers, here is a Hawaiian Breeze oscillating pedestal fan, or stand fan, whatever you want to call it. Today we're going to be cleaning and servicing. And so let's begin. It's got one of these stinking things. I don't care for these, they're very difficult to put back together. That kind of comes apart like that, and this comes off, and you have the two guards, and then this. And this thing is pretty dirty, so this should make for a pretty dramatic restoration. Screw this back together so we don't lose the piece. And since the badge is cracked, I'm going to remove the badge so we can glue it, for whatever that's worth. Actually, you know what? That's probably not a good idea, because if I glue it while it's out of place, it'll just break when I glue it, when I screw it back in. So what I'll probably do is glue it screwed on, and it just won't be a little sightly thing in the world. But that's fine. You know, the blade kind of looks a little bit SMC-esque as well. I do wonder if they had some kind of involvement into the manufacture of this fan. The badge is very SMC as well. And actually, you know, to some extent, so is this right here. Oh, the branding on this is Midea Environment Appliances. So I tend to believe it's not SMC. But that sure looks SMC to me. I don't particularly like the design of this either. This is relatively difficult to get apart as well. I typically take a common screwdriver, and because you have to pull this piece back and then push this in. So I take one and I pull this back, and I take another one and I push this in. And that typically works pretty well. But it's just not a very user-friendly design, and it should be much easier than this, because there's a lot of people that will not want to sit here and do this. Okay. So that's that. And now the motor is, this should just kind of pull off here. And this is screwed on. Is this reverse thread? I can't tell. No, it's not reverse thread. It's going to stay in there. Okay. Motor looks very much SMC-like to me. Classic SMC style motor. Can't prove it, but I do believe SMC had some kind of involvement in the manufacture of this fan. The motor is kind of small, and it has a 4 microfarads capacitor to it. So anyways, I'll get to washing, get all these parts cleaned out. This piece here, I'm going to wash this. I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit closer and figure that out. The motor, it spins quite freely, and because it has this thing on here, which can be removed, but it's kind of a nuisance to take it out. With that on there, I can't pull the bearings off. So I think what I'm going to do is just oil it and be done with it, because it really doesn't exhibit any kind of a problem anyways. As you can see, it spins very freely. So we'll just add a couple drops of oil to the rear and the front bearings, and I'm going to call the motor serviced. And if for whatever reason at some point in the future it becomes necessary to do deeper service on the bearings, I will do so then. But for now, this will suffice. These screws on the oscillator gearbox are actually loose. Okay. Got the fan oil here for fans. I think we've been through this before, but some people don't quite understand it, so we'll do it again. This is the kind of oil for fans. It says fans right on it. The other oil does not say fans on it. It says bicycles, saw blades, shoes, head trimmers, and bolts. Not fans. So I'm going to take a couple drops of the fan oil, if I can get it open, and I'm going to put a couple drops into, oh, I got oil all over my hands now. Put a couple drops into the rear bearing. Okay, great. Now I'll put this back on. Tighten these up a little bit more than they were before, because they were just about ready to start unthreading. Now the other thing that leads me to believe this is an SMC fan is this wire here. And these were actually recalled, but what happens is as the fan oscillates, it moves like this, and this wire kind of scrapes up against here, and eventually it can wear through, and then when the insulation wears off, it can spark on here and cause a flame, because the housing is plastic, and plastic is typically flammable. So yeah, these were kind of dangerous. Of course, if you don't use them on oscillation, then there's really no danger. Okay. And a front bearing. Spill a little bit. It's a very good spin down time for nothing being on the shaft. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that alone. Now I'll get the stand, which is in need of some repairs. So, first issue is very easy to resolve. Just need to tighten the screws a little bit. This screw is almost ready to come out. Okay, Actually, with that in mind, it's just this one leg that got a little bit bent. That was pretty easy to bend back. It's not very strong. I think there's something a little bit more wrong with this here. Oh yeah, there is something wrong with this. It's kind of bent in there. Again, easy enough to fix. Alright, so it's not 100%, but it's sturdy and it looks relatively decent now. So that's certainly not something worth tossing the thing out over. That's relatively simple to repair. So I think we're ready to reassemble. Put this back on there. This tightening mechanism back on there. It's got to come up a little bit first. And we're ready to go. This is not, something's not right about this. There we go, that's a little better. And it's not shaking. This cleaned up well. Here's a better look at the model numbers. Midea, or Zhongshan Electric Manufacturing Company, made in China. The number 1 and the number 0 are gone. Not exactly sure how that is. Yeah, anyways. This is, I would say, actually more irritating to put back on than it is to take off. Not that I really like it either way. Okay. And now we have the 4 screws that go in here. That's not great, and it doesn't look much better, but at least now it's not gonna, shouldn't vibrate or anything. So now we have the fun part of getting the guards back together, which is going to be a throw and a half. So what I usually do with these things is I tighten them enough that I can just barely get it over the lip on the guards. So that's how it's supposed to sit on there. There's a little bit of extra play in it. I'm going to take out some of that play. Yeah, I'm really going to thread it with it like that. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay, so now that it's relatively stiff, I'm going to take it and attempt to get it onto the other side of the, get the other guard to the other track here. And actually, that wasn't too bad. So that's in place now. Just got to screw it together and make it firm. And what I can do here is I'll loosen it a little bit so it's easier to turn. That doesn't make much of a difference. There we go. Make sure the logo is straight, and I'll tighten it back up again. and just firm, not tight, because it's all plastic and you'll break it. Okay. That's it. It's on. Actually, that was relatively painless. Okay, now we're going to give it a final test, and I expect we will have a drastic change in performance here. Tilt this up a little bit. Okay, we'll start off on 1. Oh, yes. Wow. Substantial improvement in performance. Substantial. Actually moves a satisfactory amount of air now. Okay, now we'll go up to 2. And we'll go up to 3. Not bad. You know, it's not a Galaxy Lasco, but for something made within the last 2 decades, not bad at all. It does sound kind of underpowered though. It just seems kind of underpowered, I guess would be a better way to describe it. Seems fairly imbalanced. I don't feel it shaking too much. A little bit. Yeah, that's got a strong breeze to it. Make sure the oscillation still works. Not bad at all in terms of performance. Quite good, actually. Okay, we'll do a spin down. Nope, that's medium. That's off. As you can see, the bearings are very free in this motor, and I think it would have been an absolute waste of time to go in there and clean out the bearings and re-lubricate them when they're spinning this freely. So that's that. Another successful salvage. This time a Hawaiian Breeze fan that is manufactured by Midea, though I do believe it has some SMC roots. Thank you for watching.